CBS Sports, your home of March Madness, the Masters, the PGA, PGA Tour, SEC football, the NFL, and February 3rd, Super Bowl 53.
Folks, it is Wild Card Sunday in the NFL, and in just about an hour from now, the Chargers will face the AFC North champion Ravens. That before a packed house of more than 71,000 at M&T Bank Stadium. Folks, it will host its first playoff game in exactly 6 years. Weather expected to be sunny and warm with light winds.
Well, there he is, Phillip Rivers in his 15th year. Is time running out? Is this team that he's playing with, the Chargers, capable of going to the Super Bowl?
Lamar Jackson's inserted in Week 11 as a starting quarterback. They're 6-1 and own the #1 run offense in the National Football League. Starts his first playoff game today.
And there's Joey Bosa, had one quarterback hit in every game this season. He will need to get a hit on Lamar Jackson a few times over to slow down this Ravens offense.
And there is John Harbaugh. He's never lost an opening playoff game, guys. 10-5 all-time postseason. Since he's been a head coach, only one coach has more playoff victories, the great Bill Belichick.
Stand by to move right. Ready, one? Take one. Stand by to bring it back. Take four.
We'll record on 43.
3, 2, 1.
And hello, everyone. I'm James Brown in Studio 43 on this playoff football Sunday. And we start with a look at the wild card headlines here on the NFL Today, presented by Jeep. Only 2 weeks ago, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens headed out west, upset Phillip Rivers and the Chargers in L.A. And today, the Chargers get their chance at revenge in the rematch here on CBS. Meanwhile, in Chicago, Nick Foles tries to extend his magic into the postseason for the Eagles, but he'll need a few extra tricks up his sleeve against Khalil Mack and the Bears' stout D. Andrew Luck and company looked impressive last night in their 21-7 win over the Texans, while Ezekiel Elliott helped lead the Cowboys to the divisional round of the playoffs, knocking off Russell Wilson and the Seahawks 24-22.
Andrew Luck throws, caught by Eric Ebron. Touchdown! It is caught for the touchdown by Dontrell Inman. And the Colts are stunning this crowd.
Beautiful toss by Dak Prescott.
And on Elliott, powering into the end zone. Touchdown, Cowboys. Prescott keeps it. Touchdown, Prescott.
The Dallas Cowboys are winners in the NFL playoffs.
So the Colts will face the top-seeded Chiefs in one AFC divisional playoff, while the winner of the Chicago make that Chargers and Ravens game will face the Patriots in Foxborough next Sunday. Of course, you'll see that right here on CBS. In the NFC, Dallas will face New Orleans if Chicago wins, or they'll head out to L.A. to play the Rams if Chicago loses. And the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles will take on the top-seeded Saints. All right, folks, I'm joined at the desk now by my colleagues Phil Simms, Coach Bill Cowher, Nate Burleson, and Boomer Esiason. Andrew Luck and the Colts dominated the Texans last night.
Boy, they had quite the first half. I'll tell you what, Andrew Luck looked poised. It looked like he was in control. He was accurate. They were running the ball effectively. In fact, they ran for over 200 yards against the #1 rush defense in football. Frank Reich wanted to make sure that I knew that, and I did know that, so it was impressive. But, you know, next week, on the road to Kansas City, you cannot be shut out in the second half if you want to win.
Yeah, and it wasn't just on offense. It was the balance that they provided. Also on defense, anchored by Darius Leonard, the rookie all-pro linebacker. What they did to Deshaun Watson, bottling him up, the edge rushers on the outside, blitzing up the middle as well, and keeping a spy guy on athletic quarterback, and that's going to come in use next week versus Pat Mahomes.
All right, folks, meanwhile, last night in Arlington, Dak Prescott became the first Cowboys quarterback to pass for a touchdown and rush for another score in a playoff game. And our Jamie Erdahl caught up with the winning quarterback after the game.
Dak, to be trailing going into the fourth quarter in this one, what did you know had to change as a leader of this offense to get the job done?
Nothing really had to change. I just knew we had to be our best. We've been in this situation a bunch, and we've been going down. We've been going in the fourth quarter down a couple of times throughout this season. But we have the right men. We've got the right players that want to be in that position almost. They want the ball when we're down, and they want to win the game. So just knowing that we had to stick together, take it one play at a time, and we were able to do that.
Speaking of having the right men, to have Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper for over 100 yards in their respective categories. How does that balanced offensive attack set you up for a great playoff run?
Yeah, it's huge. As you just said, it puts pressures on the team we're playing and how they prepare. If they prepare for Zeke going for another 100-yard game, we're trying to stop Mari. But if you do that, we've got weapons. The other guys showed up tonight, and it was just huge. It was a great team all the way around.
All right, so that cartwheel that you stuck, is that just what the point you wanted to prove to say we got this one in the bag?
I mean, it was nice. I don't know if I was trying to make that point there, but that was definitely nice.
Congratulations.
Yep, thank you. Thank you.
You know, back in the day, they had a threesome that they used to call the
triplets.
There you go. No question.
They do have that, JB. When you look at this offense, I think with the addition of Amari Cooper and the way Dak Prescott is running and what they did to the Seattle Seahawks last night, a dose of their own medicine. Seattle came in as a #1 rush offense, but it was the Dallas Cowboys, 164 yards rushing. Dak Prescott with his legs, Dak Prescott with his arm, and that defense, I will say this, Phil, this is a confident football team that whether they have to go to the Rams or they have to go to the New Orleans Saints, they are going to give them everything they have. This is probably the best they are right now all year in terms of confidence level.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. When you look at last night, I watched the game. I know it was close, but I felt like that all night long, the Dallas Cowboys were the better team, really because their offense and defensive lines are so good. But their style of play, because they run the football so much, their margin of error is very small. But after watching again last night, the last few weeks, I think it's getting bigger because the way Dak Prescott is playing, moving around, quarterback runs, outside the pocket, making timely throws. And I know this when I watch him. I see Dak Prescott, he's a leader of men, and he's a franchise quarterback.
Wow. No leader. How about Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens? He didn't make the Pro Bowl, but he is a first-team All-Pro. By the way, he's the most accurate field goal kicker in NFL history, converting on 90% of his attempts.
Coming up on a wild card weekend edition of the NFL Today.
That's amazing, right? Yeah, it's like a new season, new energy.
That's right, Eric Weddle, but it's actually the Chargers who are looking for a new result this time around, as they hope to stop Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in a rematch of their Week 16 showdown.
Touchdown, Ravens! Merry Christmas, Baltimore! The Hazel Lamar!
The Eagles and Bears have met in the playoffs a few times before, but 30 years ago, things got a bit, well, foggy. Today, both teams hope to clear the air and take one step closer to Atlanta. And the NFL's coaching carousel is in full spin. We'll have the latest potential landing spots for the top candidates. All that and more on the NFL Today on CBS, home of Super Bowl 53. The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
Time now for more golden moments brought to you by McDonald's.
Dadgummit, let's go, huh?
Rivers letting it rip.
Rivers. Oh, the touch. Wow.
That was a laser beam.
Let us go once. Lamar Jackson throws to the end zone. Touchdown! His ball skills are electric. Jackson darts to the end zone for the touchdown.
What a fantastic job by Lamar Jackson.
That win, I can taste it for my birthday Monday, so definitely his own.
Somebody's moving on and somebody's not. Shoot, go cut it loose for 3 hours and see what happens.
Indeed, Mr. Phillip is right, and pretty shortly we'll all see what happens. But right now we head out live to Baltimore and welcome in Tony Romo, who will be calling today's matchup. Tony, two contrasting styles will be on display at the quarterback position. How big a stage for Lamar Jackson today, do you think, Tony?
Well, it's a big stage. He is the youngest quarterback ever starting, a playoff game. But the system that they run, their ability to run the football, and his ability to see the gap and make cuts, that kind of minimizes your nerves a little bit. He's not trying to decipher the coverages, figure out who's blitzing. That's really where the young age can really affect you in the playoff game. So to me, I expect him to play the exact same way that he's been playing this entire stretch.
From the KG and effective veteran, Mr. Phillip Rivers, what do you think he learned in that Week 16 matchup?
Well, I think it was really important to go against this Ravens team. They blitz you from everywhere. They hide it really well. I think you see as a veteran, you find the mannerisms of a defensive back. You can see that guy. He tips his hand. He's blitzing or he's not. And that allows you to change the protection, get to other plays. They had some pick stunts and some things that really kind of really just made the Chargers. It was a difficult day for him. I expect Philip to come back with a better plan and a better job at the line of scrimmage, getting them into a good place.
Hey, Tony, as usual, we're looking forward to your call of the game along with Jim Nantz. We'll be talking back with you in just a bit. All right, folks, as we mentioned, the Ravens' top-ranked D put the clamps on Rivers and the Bolts 2 weeks ago, but they'll meet under much bigger circumstances today, as Tony mentioned, with this being their first ever postseason meeting, Phil.
Yeah, you know, there's so many matchups to talk about in this game that I think are great, but the one I'm really going to look at, when you look at the Los Angeles Chargers, their offensive line, the last 3 weeks, Kansas City, Baltimore, and Denver have all pushed the offensive line back in front of Philip Rivers. A quarterback needs what? Space and time to throw the football. He has not been getting that, so that's a big deal. And it's even a bigger deal because one of the strengths of the Chargers football team is their wide receivers. So you need some time to get that football down the field.
You know, what's the best way to neutralize that rush, Phil? Run the football. I think Melvin Gordon only touched the ball 12 times in that first game. So I think Melvin Gordon, to me, is a big factor in this game in terms of not how many yards he gets, it's how many attempts he gets, because that's how you slow down the rush. And, you know, as Tony was making reference to that defense, Eric Weddle was an ex-teammate of Philip Rivers. And he was playing that game with him that first time. He's up at the line of scrimmage. Reminded me of Troy Polamalu.
Yeah.
Wherever he's at, it's not where he's going to end up.
Yeah, and there's Eric Weddle right there, one of the best in the business at disguising coverage. He's going to try to make things difficult for Philip Rivers, especially knowing what he's like on offense. But for me, going back to what you said, Coach, you mentioned running the ball and rush attempts. How about Lamar Jackson? I mean, the rush attempts that he's had all season, 147, that's the most by a quarterback in NFL history. My man started in week 11. So we know what we're going to get. When it's third down, third and short, fourth and short, they're top 5 in the league under Lamar Jackson at quarterback. The fact that they have so much confidence in running the ball, not throwing it, it's 10 passes to 22 runs on those downs and distances, which means the Chargers defense, they know exactly what they're going to get on that offense side of the ball for the Ravens. But just like Mike Tyson said, everybody got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. You know what the Ravens are going to do on offense. What are you going to do when they start running the ball down your throat?
You know, the amazing thing is that I think Phil alluded to it, that the Ravens did punch the Chargers in the mouth the last time they played. And when you take a look at Philip Rivers, you take a look at these numbers. I mean, they're Dan Fouts-like. They're Hall of Fame numbers. He and Dan Fouts also have something in common. They haven't been to the Super Bowl. So to me, this is all about Philip Rivers. This is not about validating his career. It's about solidifying his career. And solidifying his career would go on a run like Eli Manning did back in 2007. Take your team, play against very difficult, defenses, and take them all the way to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, and crown it with an MVP. So there is a lot of pressure on him today, but I believe this offense has to show up today. Buckle your chin straps, put your mouthpieces in, and guess what? Get ready to punch back this time like you didn't do the last time you played them.
Wow, you are violent for a quarterback. You know, Bill, you're right, talking about running the football. That's what the Chargers like to do. But I'm just telling you this. Let me coach it up here. Don't run up the middle. There's 2 guys, Michael Pierce and Brandon Williams, for the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens. They weigh about 680 pounds, and I'm going under. And they're guys inside, and they're mobile, too. So if you run up the middle, they're just going to spill it outside, run outside, throw screens outside, try to do some misdirection when you talk about this Ravens front, because that's really the only way you can move the football in the run game.
And I think a big key to this game is for the Baltimore Ravens to get, or for the LA Chargers to get a lead. Because, we've not seen this Ravens team play from backup. You wonder at this point, if you go no huddle, can Lamar Jackson lead them? Does Joe Flacco become an integral part of this if you get behind? So I think a big key for this LA Charger and for Philip Rivers, they have to get the lead early. Like I said, Flacco's backing up. Could we see him in a situation where they get behind, or a 1-minute situation? Who knows?
Well, listen, he's been there, he's done that. So if you have a quarterback like that went on that magical run in January and know what this feeling is like, maybe he does get a chance. But what we do know about this offense, though, they're anchored by old school football. They're going to run the rock. They're going to control the narrative of the game, try to milk the clock and keep the superstars for the Chargers on the sideline. Chargers have to take advantage, like you said, try to score first, keep the lead, and then they can control the narrative of the game.
Chargers did not lose this game because of their defense in the last game. They lost it because their offense wasn't ready to go toe-to-toe with that Baltimore defense. That's why I think this Charger defense, the faster version of it, because they lost a few linebackers, will be well up to the standard of what they're going to need to be.
You know what, Boom? I got an eye vision to show exactly what you're talking about.
Can't wait to see it.
That's a tease. Well, that was a pretty violent theme in this segment here.
Yeah, it was. It was a little rough.
You know why? Because you got to have an attitude, JB. This is the playoffs.
But okay, Boom. But to Nate's point, a punch in the mouth will change your whole game plan. No question about it. Hey, folks, for more news and notes, including the latest on John Harbaugh's future in Baltimore, we welcome in our NFL Today insider, Jason Lockenforward. Jason.
JB, negotiations between Harbaugh and the Ravens have yet to begin, sources said, now more than 2 weeks after the team announced it would extend his contract. The Dolphins and Buccaneers are watching the situation closely, believing a trade may be possible. Harbaugh's future remains in doubt. Mike Munchak's future, meanwhile, might be in Denver. The Broncos were very impressed with him, and if hired there, he could bring Gary Kubiak back as his offensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy still likely to sit out a year. He's not expected to take the Jets job, I'm told. And New York remains high on Baylor coach Matt Rule. Several teams will gauge Nick Saban's interest in returning to the NFL following the national championship game Monday night, sources said, with seemingly nothing left to prove at Alabama. And while Mike Tomlin's in no jeopardy of losing his job in Pittsburgh after a tumultuous season, more changes are likely coming to his coaching staff. If ownership honors Antonio Brown's trade request, the Steelers could withstand the cap hit, sources said. Team officials should get more direction from Art Rooney on that this week. The Steelers also intend to extend Ben Roethlisberger's contract. And Cowboys receiver Allen Hurns underwent successful surgery for injuries to his leg and ankle last night in Dallas. He's optimistic about a return for training camp, and I'm told he'll be released from the hospital shortly, JB.
Well, Boomer's champing at the bit here.
Well, I was just going to say, if that's true about the Jets and Mike McCarthy, he's just made my radio show 5 days straight easy. I mean, I got Jet fans are going to be screaming and yelling.
We turn now to the latest drama action thriller from Universal Pictures. On January 18th, the world of superheroes will be shattered. Are you ready? Take a special look at the new movie, Glass.
I'll tell you.
And we're trying to be the best in history. There's the world that's watching right now.
Picked off. Dwayne Stark's going to take it to the end zone for the touchdown.
Yeah, baby!
The Baltimore Ravens are Super Bowl champions.
But there's one thing they can never take away from us. We're the best ever right now.
The Baltimore Ravens trying to win it for a second time.
And we have come to this 4th and goal from the 5.
One play.
And they make a stand here.
Kaepernick to the end zone. Incomplete.
The Super Bowl belongs to Baltimore.
You know, Coach Cowher said, don't be surprised if you see Joe Flacco today. And it must feel like only yesterday for Baltimore's now backup quarterback, Joe Flacco. He started and earned Super Bowl 47 MVP honors while bringing home a second Lombardi trophy for the Ravens. And that takes us inside the pregame HQ delivered by Domino's.
The Ravens must win to stay alive in the wild card. Rivers going deep down the far sideline. He's got Mike Williams out there, and it's picked off on the first play of turnover. Rivers hit, and he is sacked back at the 20-yard line. Broken up by Tony Jefferson. He read it perfectly. Taken down for a loss. And Rivers is sacked again. Rivers slings one over the middle, caught. It's Gates, and the ball comes loose. It's free, and it's picked up by the Ravens. It's being returned inside the 10. Touchdown, Tavon Young. And how many times can this defense come through this year for Baltimore?
You know, Phil, we saw that Cleveland game last week that the Baltimore Ravens had that big defensive stand at the end of the game. #1 in the National Football League in yards allowed. What makes them special?
Well, they're good, they're complicated, and I think they do a lot of things on defense that just make offenses struggle. Look what they did against this Chargers offense. 10 points, under 200 total yards, only 147 passing yards for Rivers and that great wide receiver corps. But look here, there's a bunch to the right. Or to the left for the offense. They got it covered, the Ravens do. They're trying to pick. These 3 guys go up to pick for Melvin Gordon coming out of the backfield, but C.J. Mosley switches off with his guy. Nobody open underneath. Phillip Rivers comes off the running back, and they did a great job of stopping that. Short crossers. How about this for a little deception here?
Love it.
Eric Weddle up. He goes back. Here comes the blitz from the outside, and Phillip watched the pocket just collapse. Wants to get rid of it. Once again, the outside receiver covered as they go across. 7 guys up, Eric Will, you think he's going to blitz. He does not. He goes back. And again, as we said earlier, if you're going to be a passing football team, get it down the field. You need time, and you got to have some space around you and put some juice on that football. What do you like about Baltimore's offense?
Well, the offense, I think, really has set up that defense because I've been deciding to establish the run game. Since week 11, the insertion with Lamar Jackson, they are 6-1, lead the league in rushing. And what makes them unique, Phil, is it's a pistol offense. You can see right here, they love to run the ball to the field. Here, Gus Edwards, you're going to see. So here's the inside of the LA Chargers, but it's downhill. It's cutback running. It tests your gap integrity. But again, you can see the field with Lamar Jackson being a part of that option of running the football. You get it, again, field, pistol offense. If you're going to take away the inside, you better then get the outside. And they have athletes, Adrian Phillips, Derwin James. They took out the inside linebackers, put safeties in there because they can now run and match their speed on that side. And then when you get the running game going, it's the RPO, run pass option. What is it? You read the inside linebacker. He goes with the run, opens up the window right there. You can see Hayden Hurst on this big play. A lot of first down passing in this game, and that's what you're going to have to stop with this team. They love to throw the ball on first down and run the ball on third down.
Yep.
I mean, you talk about these receivers in this game. You talk about this checklist. Oh, yeah, 8-man fronts right here with the zone defense. This is the checklist in terms of how you want to stop this offense. And then, again, the second thing is defend the first down passing. The first down passing where all the play action comes, the running game will set it up. And the third thing we talked about is going to be playing disciplined football, gap integrity in terms of your eyes start from play action, in terms of the gaps that you have, and you better be able to swarm tackle because they can make people miss.
You know, you got to stay under control on game day and have some, plan and follow the plan. So you almost forgot that there. You got so excited.
No, I know. This is the game plan. I think when you look at this game, Phil, you're talking about a game and talk about it played in the trenches. The line of scrimmage will be huge in terms of the ability for the LA Chargers to control the line of scrimmage and also for the Baltimore Ravens to be able to get movement up there and get a hat on a hat. But on the outside, the receivers, they will play a big part in this game as well. Let's take us over to Nate and talk to Boomer about the receivers in this game.
That's right, Coach. Two very explosive offenses, but they operate a little bit different.
You know, I'm a quarterback. I got a lot of issues during the game.
Okay.
For Phillip Rivers, a lot of those issues are going to be compounded by the speed of that Baltimore.
Well, talk to me then. You Phillip Rivers.
So I'm telling my wide receivers, I'm telling Keenan Allen, look, they do not have Tavon Young today. He is out. He's their slot corner.
Okay.
I need you, as Keenan Allen, to win your matchups today.
Okay.
Why? Because I'm going to be under duress. I need to get rid of the ball quickly.
Yeah.
The great Sam Weiss used to tell us when we used to play Cleveland Browns, Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield, wide receivers, you don't win your battles, we don't win the game, and that's what I'm telling you today as a San Diego Charger wide receiver.
And if I'm Keenan Allen, I'm telling Phil Rivers, hey, listen, you're good at making babies, I'm good at making big plays. Whether it's 3 yards or 3 inches of separation, I'm going to come down with that ball. But on the flip side, though, the Ravens wide receivers, very different. Now, they don't pass as much. I want you to check out these numbers. The beginning of the season versus when Lamar Jackson took over, first 9 games. 212 combined targets. These guys are getting the ball thrown their way. Last 7 games, 80 combined targets. Just check out the difference between the beginning of the season and now. 46% of the offense, it ran through the wide receivers. You know, that's almost half of the plays are coming your way versus just 16%. And I want people to pay attention because wide receivers, yes, we are divas, but this speaks on the duality of these wide receivers, understanding that a big block for me on a big run is just like an explosive play. Boom.
Well, the good news for the Baltimore Ravens, they don't have Antonio Brown on their roster because that would not fly in the face of all the top wide receivers in the league. But the one thing I will say, you want to win football games, you better be selfless. This wide receiving core for the Ravens have become selfless because they're known now for their blocks as opposed to their receptions.
That's right. And if you're at home watching this game, look at the trenches, but also the perimeter. Melvin Gordon, though, he's one of the beasts in the backfield. Melvin Air Gordon is going to turn into Melvin Ground Gordon to give that Ravens defense a taste of their own medicine.
This is
Veteran Ravens linebacker Terrell Suggs leads the squad in tackles for loss with 13. T-Sizzle and crew are aiming for a repeat performance from Week 16. That is when they shut down the Chargers' high-powered offense. Nate's got me going. And for more on this highly anticipated matchup, we head back out to Baltimore to join Jim Nance and Tony Romo. Hello, Jim.
Hello there, my friend. It is a breezy and clear day here in Baltimore. What a matchup we have here. You got a 12-win team in the Chargers, led by Anthony Lynn, Tony, who was a running back coach back in your days in Dallas, early in your career. his first playoff game. How do you think he's going to be up for this occasion?
Well, he's ready. He's very even-keeled. He keeps his team every week. All he does is come in and give them one speech on Wednesday and then see you at the game. They're going to be ready to play.
What about Phillip Rivers' season with the 32 touchdowns? Really, the worst game he had was against the Ravens there on Week 16.
It was, and he had a great season. Never really had what he described as a clunker until that game. He's ready to get back out here. The Ravens are going to blitz him, though. He's got to get him into good plays. It's going to be a key to this game.
Of course, Joey Bosa missed time this season, but when he's on the field, which he's been the back half of the year, he can certainly be the difference maker.
Oh, he's very disruptive. The one thing is the way that the Ravens run their offense kind of neutralizes him a little bit. He's going to play the run today, and he's going to be lined up far closer to the inside than he normally is, in my opinion.
Well, let's talk about the AFC North champions, the Ravens of John Harbaugh, who beat Cleveland in a nail-biter last week to take the division and hold off the Pittsburgh Steelers. Back in the playoffs, been a few years, and what a stretch they've had at the end of the year behind Lamar Jackson at quarterback.
Well, how about that change? The head coach gets credit for, sticking with them, but this team with this style of play that they're running on offense makes it very difficult. When you have a great defense and you can run the ball, you can follow this quarterback, and they got a shot to win this thing.
There's the guy that saved it last week with the last-minute interception. C.J. Mosley, this Ravens defense. Again, they gave Rivers and company fits out in Los Angeles.
They give a lot of quarterbacks fits, and it's nice for Chargers, though. They've seen him now. This will be the second time. This allows you to kind of adjust your scheme and get yourself ready to go, get your team into the right play. This is a veteran quarterback they're going against. Phillip Rivers is going to get into some good plays today and try and really attack that blitz the way that they attack you normally.
JB, my partner's fired up about this game. He loves this as a wild card matchup. One of the best you've ever seen, you say.
Very seldom do you have two teams on wild card weekend that both can win the Super Bowl. I think you're seeing that here this weekend.
All right, it's breezy, by the way. We'll talk about that later on, like gust over 30, so that could be a factor. Right. JB, back to you.
Hey, Jim, I'm feeling the enthusiasm in both of you guys, and we're looking forward, of course, to the call of the game. Hey, no question that the Chargers have had a very successful season on the field. Big props, of course, to Anthony Lynn. But, coaches, you will embellish what he's done on the field. I'm impressed as how he's handled the things that are extraneous to the coaching job.
Yeah, you're talking about the team that finished the season last year, 6-1 their last 7 games. They make the transition from San Diego to LA, and he's kept them focused on the job at hand. And I love the fact that he brought in a year ago his 2 coordinators. They're Gus Bradley, former head coach, and you're talking about Ken Wisenhunt, former head coach. So he was confident enough to hire coordinators around him that allow him to coach the players, to be a leader of men, and not be coaching coaches. So I think he's done a tremendous job in terms of keeping his team focused and a task at hand. 18-5 last 23 games. That's impressive.
Yeah, 2 ex-head coaches there with Anthony Lynn. You're right. That's a great thing to do. And what these 2 coordinators have done, Gus Bradley has really kind of created a new defense for the Chargers. They got three safeties in there all the time. They move around. They're complicated. When they played the Baltimore Ravens in that last game, they made adjustments almost immediately on the defensive side and shut down that offense. And the other thing he's brought, he's an ex-running back, so what do you think they're going to do? Run the football a little more, keep the defense honest. And the last thing, he was never a coordinator, but Boomer, you're here in town. I talked to a lot of Jet players. I said things to him about it. He said he doesn't need to be a coordinator. He's ready to be a head coach right now.
He needs to be a leader of men is what he needs to be. And that's why, 7-1 on the road. And that one loss came at the hands of the LA Rams in LA. So I don't necessarily know that was really a road game. But I think that speaks to his leadership on the road. But the one thing I will say about all these football teams, you want to be selfless. We talk about the 53-man roster, everybody pulling in the same direction. For me today, Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram basically have to kind of forget about the pass rush for a minute. And they got to stay at home, and they got to hold their point at the line of scrimmage, because where did the Ravens beat you? With the cat quickness of Lamar Jackson that we saw last week against the Browns. I mean, I don't think I've ever said, well, since Michael Vick, somebody that quick, that fast, and that dangerous running the football.
Yeah, and if you take a note from the Colts defense yesterday versus Deshaun Watson, you have to keep eyes on him. You have to keep one spy at the linebacker position. You bring that blitz from the outside, and you make sure that middle is clogged clogged up, but guys have to stay disciplined in their lanes, because if you're not, one gap, coach, one window, and Lamar Jackson is taking off for 60 yards for a touchdown.
And that's what happened the last time. And I think what the LA Chargers have done, they put Derwin James inside. They brought Adrian Phillips, who's a Pro Bowl special teamer, has become an integral part of that defense right now because they put speed, as you talked about, with speed. So, again, the passing will take place on first down, and that's what you got to be a part. This guy right here, Derwin James, he can defend the middle of the field. He can rush like a linebacker. And like you said, Nate, they're going to run the ball on third down and throw it on first down. And they kind of unconventional.
Yeah, there's Adrian Phillips, you know, and go back to the safeties, how important they are. He's a run stopper. Derwin James will be the guy looking at Lamar Jackson going, go ahead and keep it on that zone read, because we've seen he's tall, he's got long arms, just like Spider-Man out there. He does not miss tackles.
Love Bill Cowher's point about Anthony Lynn not having to coach the coaches. The great Joe Gibbs made that point, so that was extremely important indeed. All right, folks, coming up at the top of the hour, Keenan Allen, Phillip Rivers, and the Chargers roll in the Charm City to take on rookie phenom Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh's top-ranked defense. And AFC wildcard showdown, Chargers and Ravens.
Coming up next here on CBS.
The NFL Today is sponsored by Domino's. Order online at Domino's.com. State Farm, go right. And by the Jeep Wrangler 2019 Motor Trend SUV of the Year.
And last week, Khalil Mack, Matt Nagy, and the Bears hosted a group from the Choose to Change program to watch practice, have lunch, and meet with players. The program, by the way, provides mentoring and trauma therapy to youth who are most at risk for violence involvement in the Inglewood community. And just a little over 30 years ago, New Year's Eve 1988 to be exact, the Eagles faced the Bears in a divisional round playoff game right here on CBS. And though Chicago prevailed for its only playoff win in 3 tries against Philadelphia so far, the game will always be remembered most for the unusual weather.
Either smoke or fog rolls in over Soldier Field.
It's not smoke, it's fog.
Whatever, it's eerie. Forecast could have called for partly cloudy, but they didn't tell us which part of which cloud. We got it all right here. And we're not trying to make light of this, but it is actually impossible for us to see the field.
I would like to go down on the field and see what these guys are seeing, because we can't see a thing.
So we will do our best to help you enjoy what we can see. Sanders goes right and disappears in the haze.
Goes right and out of sight.
The league officials say they can see both goalposts, so this game will continue.
Sometimes I couldn't see the other side of the field, but they had the same problems on their side.
The fog has not lifted.
They had the ball at one point. I couldn't see their quarterback from where I was, so I don't know how they could see anybody.
Cunningham will throw. Or run. Sacked for the 4th time. Wait a minute.
He got rid of the ball, Vern.
He must have, and completed it to somebody. Well, you're seeing a little notch of history today. No game has been played in conditions like this. The Bears did it in the fog, and they did it at home.
Boy, Vern and Terry must have had a blast at that game. Well, the Bears will be looking to do it again at home. And for the latest on this NFC wildcard matchup, we go out live to Chicago to our reporter, Evan Washburn. And I know that he is thankful that the weather condition will be just slightly different today, Evan.
Just slightly. It's brisk, but optimal for both of these teams. And for the Eagles, the biggest challenge, at least early in the week, was getting Nick Foles healthy. Remember, he suffered bruised ribs last Sunday against the Redskins, forced him to leave that game early. Said he had some soreness early in the week, but as of Friday, the same old Nick, according to his head coach. In the last 3 games, he's been fantastic. Numbers that are eerily similar to ones he put up on the way to a Super Bowl MVP. But today provides a new and daunting challenge in a defense in the Bears that statistically, as you can see, is special. And while the conditions won't affect Foles' vision, he could be seeing double because of this secondary for Chicago. He says they confuse the eyes of quarterbacks. They disguise coverages so well, and they could be, JB, getting back their best player in all-pro safety, Eddie Jackson, expected to play, but is a game-time decision with an ankle injury. Another injury update, Trey Burton, starting tight end. This This was late last night. Suffered a groin injury apparently yesterday. He's questionable for this game. That would be a big loss for this Bears offense, JB.
The always excellent Evan Washburn. Thanks, Evan. So the Eagles are in the playoffs thanks to the Bears win over the Vikings last week. But, folks, you can put all those pleasantries to the side when this one gets underway.
You know, I think these two teams have the best combination of offensive and defensive linemen in the league. And when these 32 guys all get off the bus together, you're like, oh, my God, look at the size of these people. That's how good they are. So this is going to be a war of the trenches. The one thing I will say about Nick Foles is that last year he did it at the link, and he did it with a great defense who was getting turnovers and everything. This is a completely different set of circumstances. The similarities then, because now you're going against that #1 ranked defense, and he will have the same kind of situation that Phillip Rivers is going to have in our earlier game, and the fact that you better be quick with your decisions, you better be accurate, because they will make you make mistakes.
Yeah, speaking of that, he's going to have to get the ball out of his hands, like you said, because they will bring pressure. But just like any other game in the postseason, this is going to come down to the quarterbacks. I'm looking at Nick Foles. He's the highest-ranked passer on 3rd and 4th downs with 80% of his passes completed. So he's an absolute monster when the pressure is on. If I got to trust one quarterback in this matchup on 3rd and 4th down, I'm going with Foles.
Oh, the one thing about Mitch Trubisky, I will say, he has taken over since he's come back. They're 4-0. These last 3 games, he's not thrown an interception. He can make plays with his legs. And I like the surrounding core that he has around him. Talk about backs, Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard. They give him a great 1-2 punch along with that defense. Mitch Trubisky, you can see right here, is a guy that can, again, he can extend plays. He can extend drives. And then, again, Alshon Jeffrey coming back to Chicago for the first time. Yeah. Interesting to see what kind of welcome he gets. But I like this Chicago team. I love their defense. I love being able to run the football. And I love the things that Mitch Trubisky does with his feet.
Sounds like you're going to pick the Chicago Bears. You know, I'm right there with you. Boomer is right. This is a big boy game today. Both sides, offense, defensive lines, both very good. And when you look at the Chicago Bears, what I love about them, they have 2 guys. Premier guys that can get to the quarterback. One, we know about Khalil Mack, but the guy inside, Akeem Hicks, does not get the publicity he deserves. Also, they have an excellent secondary. They can cover people. Great zone team, but man-to-man. But when you talk about the rushers, you can double-team Khalil Mack outside. That's easy to do. But sometimes in passing situations, very hard to double-team the inside guy. That's Akeem Hicks.
Speaking of big boys, have you seen how big Kyle Long has grown?
Kyle Long is huge.
Oh, man, he's a big boy.
I watched him the other day in film. I just saw him from the backside, but I didn't recognize him.
He's 2 Howies is what he is.
He is 2 Howies.
So who wins today?
Who wins? I'm taking the Bears.
I'm taking the Bears as well.
I believe in magic. I'm going with Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm going to take the Bears with that defense.
All right, folks, as we know by now, Bears head coach Matt Nagy engineered an incredible turnaround in his first season at the helm in Chicago. There are 8 head coaching positions currently available, and this isn't a misprint. It's going to be Boomer.
Yes,
Boomer's picking the top 5 coaching
I'm going to give you the 5 top places to go and coach if you want to coach.
So what's the criteria that you...
All right, number 5, I use 6 factors in my decision-making: ownership, football operation structure, QB, history and legacy, division that you're going to be playing in, and your personal experience if you have any. So here's my top 5. At number 5, the 4 worst jobs in the NFL. They're all tied. This is why they're always looking for new coaches, with the exceptions of the Bengals. So if you take the Bengals job, you can make a lot of money. You may have longevity. You don't have to worry about winning playoff games or going to the Super Bowl, but you can make a lot of money. Tampa and Miami, those are no tax states. Oh, I think that's you like that. All right, number 4. The Denver Broncos. I say the Denver Broncos knowing that they do have some turmoil at the ownership level. There's dueling lawsuits going on right now. You do have John Elway. There are always expectations in Denver. You got a great, rabid fan base, and you know they're going to spend money in free agency. They are in quarterback hell. Number 3, the Green Bay Packers. You better be accepting of the current structure there with Mark Murphy running the team, and you better be a psychologist as a coach so you can connect with Aaron Rodgers, your quarterback. Number 2, the New York Jets. Inexperience in ownership. You too are going to have to accept the football structure right now, which may not be the greatest, simply because they may be looking to college so they can preserve their self-jobs, and they have a lot of money and a high draft pick. So, number 1, Baker Mayfield. He is the reason why you want to go there. Myles Garrett's the reason why you want to go there. Nick Chubb's the reason why you want to go there. Plus, they have a bunch of draft picks, and they, much like the Jets, have a lot of money in free agency.
They have a lot of money to spend, right? So they can surround the young quarterback with talent.
Do you agree with me or you disagree with me, Coach?
Well, I agree with I think you're absolutely spot on, particularly with the top 3 ones. But I will say, you don't always have the choice of going to those teams. So there'll be some young coaches that have opportunities to go to maybe your bottom 4 to make their mark. to give their input, to be a part of a rebuilding process. And I agree with you. You have to have the people in the building aligned in the same manner. You have to look at your quarterback situation in terms of, do you have one or do you need to get one? And I think the biggest thing is you have to win in your division. I went to Pittsburgh, and the first thing I said, who do I have to beat? It was, at the time, it was the AFC Central. We had 6 teams in there. You have to win in your division first before you think about anything else beyond that.
You know, that was the longest list we've ever had in history here on the show. I know that. He went through it. And everything you said about the criteria to be a head coach, didn't I just hear Coach Cowher say that earlier today?
No, he heard me say that.
Oh,
I was just running it.
Coach, what do you think? Yeah, okay.
But you got to be, I mean.
Hey, but give yourself credit, because here are the 4 that you had tied.
Yes, unfortunately, I had all the same
Cardinals,
things
Bengals, Dolphins, Broncos.
Yes.
Look at you. You all over that then.
Yes, exactly. I know exactly what I'm talking about, unlike some other.
Where would you want to play if you were a free agent, Nate?
I'll go to Cleveland. Young talent, not big expectations. There's Joey Bosa right there, 5.5 sacks in the last 6 games. With stats like that, Joey has us all saying, whoa. Well, let's go to the flip side. My man T-Sizzle, Terrell Suggs, getting his Ravens all hyped for the game.
We are on Hollow Brown. Only thing is required is for us to play together for 3 hours. Raven football, one play at a time, together. Together. Follow each other. Have each other's back. Be accountable. Most importantly, be dependable. Do your job, baby. Raven football for 3 hours. Hey, second season, baby. They didn't want us in. We had it ready. We ready. We ready for y'all.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
We're counting down the kickoff in Baltimore, where just a few minutes from now, the Chargers and the AFC North champion Ravens will play for a spot in the divisional round. And the playoff winner, of course, plays against the Patriots. All right, time now, folks, to pick a winner. Chargers or the Ravens? We start with Phil.
Well, they're at home, and they beat them last time, so I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens over the Los Angeles Chargers.
You know what? I'm going to stake the LA Chargers in this game. I think the second time around, I think Phillip Rivers, that guy right there, is going to find a way to get some separation for his receivers. I like the Chargers.
I feel like that Baltimore Ravens offense controlling the game with the run, anchored by Lamar Jackson. They're going to do what they did in L.A. I have the Baltimore Ravens at home.
Man, it is hard to beat a team twice in the last 3 weeks. I was going to go with the Ravens, guys, but I'm changing to the Chargers. I've talked myself into it this morning.
Why? How, Boomer?
Why? Because of the defense of the Chargers. And when you look at what they did the last time these 2 teams played, they really held Lamar Jackson in check. And I do not believe that the Chargers offense will turn the ball over and take as many sacks as they did the last time they played.
But, Boom, you mentioned the defense of the Chargers. What about the defense of the Ravens? They're as good as it gets.
Hey, Nate, I've been yelling at you all morning about wide receivers being ready to come and play today.
Right.
There is no Tavon Young, the slot corner for the Ravens.
I hear you.
Keenan Allen has got to have a day today.
I agree.
Every time a pass is thrown, I am going to watch your brethren.
Yeah. My
wide receiver brethren for the Chargers to see whether or not they're going to win this game for their team.
Whether or not they're ready.
They better be ready to go, Nate.
Coach, you're smiling at this. Go ahead.
I just saw last night a team, the Seattle Seahawks, who were one-dimensional in terms of running the football. And you get into the playoffs, your strengths get you into the playoffs, and your weaknesses eliminate you from the playoffs.
Oh, look at that.
I don't see a passing game for the Ravens if they get behind this game. That's my only negative I have. Defense is great, run the ball great. They do not have a championship passing game.
Yeah, you know, well, there's no question they don't have a championship passing game, but the big thing is, Bill, will they have to use it in the sense where they fall behind? But the big matchup, there's so many good matchups out there today. Joey Bosa of the Los Angeles Chargers, when he gets out there, is to the right of the quarterback. He'll be going against a rookie, Orlando Brown. Terrell Suggs, that defense in front for the Baltimore Ravens, almost impossible to run against. But Joey Bosa's the guy to watch here in this game.
Yeah, Joey Bosa's right there. He's going to be one of the guys that's going to get after the quarterback. But you mentioned the passing game for the Baltimore Ravens. They haven't thrown over 25 times since Lamar Jackson's taken over. And I don't say that in a negative way. That's an absolute positive. They don't have to throw the ball 30, 45 times. We might see Phillip Rivers in a position where he's throwing the ball downfield because they're playing from behind. Because if the Baltimore Ravens get a lead in this game, they can keep Phillip Rivers on the sideline, forcing them to make uncharacteristic decisions later in the game.
And remember, you know, Jim Nantz was talking about the blustery conditions down there, the wind, maybe a 30-mile-an-hour gust or two. That, to me, means
run the ball.
Run the ball, and that's why that will play in the hands of the Ravens. But the one guy that I do really admire in this game is the kicker for the Ravens, Justin Tucker. He's a first-team All-Pro, even though he didn't make the Pro Bowl, because those of us voting for All-Pro actually know what the hell we're doing. And he is the guy. He is the X factor that if the game is on the line and they need a kick to win it, my money is on him.
When you talk about legacy, you're talking about an opportunity for Phillip Rivers. This is the best football team that he has had in his career. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. He went against him the first time. He had his worst game of the season.
Yeah.
I do not see Phillip Rivers backing up that first game with another bad game. That man's going to find a way to get it done.
So you're telling me he's going to have the time to throw the football down the field. You know, that is great. But the bad thing, go ahead. You want to answer the question?
I was going to say, not if you're handing the ball to Melvin Gordon.
Well, that might work, but here's the other thing. The defensive backs of the Baltimore Ravens are so good, they can cover those wide receivers.
Kickoff just moments away. AFC wildcard, Chargers, Ravens up next.